He was more than just a soldier. He was a revolutionary, a master strategist, and an emperor. A man who shaped history with his own hands, determined the fate of millions, and brought Europe to its knees. This video tells the extraordinary, epic, and ultimately tragic story of Napoleon Bonaparte's life. Born on a small island, he used nothing but his will to change the destiny of an entire continent. In 1769, a seemingly ordinary child was born on the island of Corsica, recently conquered by France. Who could have imagined that a boy who struggled to speak French in his early years would one day rule the heart of Europe? Yet through sheer determination, sharp intellect, and unshakable ambition, he wrote his own destiny. From a young age, Napoleon learned what it meant to be alone, to feel like an outsider, and to fight for his place in the world. At just 26 years old, he embarked on the Italian campaign as a young general. And it became the first great sign that he was not just a commander, but a national hero, a military genius, and an emperor in the making. Napoleon's brilliance on the battlefield turned him into an unstoppable force. His soldiers began to see him not merely as a leader, but almost as a prophet. As the republic born from the French Revolution was shaken by internal turmoil, Napoleon emerged as a charismatic figure who filled the void in both politics and the hearts of the people. The coup of 1799 allowed him to seize power, and in 1804, by placing the crown on his own head, he began an empire unlike any the world had seen before. From that moment on, it wasn't just the fate of France, it was the fate of all Europe, that rested in his hands. At Austerlitz, Jena, and Wagram, Napoleon's victories didn't just win battles, they redrew borders. As the monarchies of Europe fell before him one by one, he became legendary as a master of military strategy. Now, it was his hand that reshaped the map of Europe, and his word that created thrones. His armies didn't just conquer lands, they shattered an order that had ruled for centuries. But every great rise has its breaking point. For Napoleon, that moment came in 1812, when he marched into Russia with his grand army of 600,000 men. But what awaited him was neither a mighty enemy nor an easy victory. Only the flames of a burning Moscow and the freezing hand of the Russian winter. His thirst for glory had finally brought him face to face with the brutal truths of nature. When he was exiled to the island of Elba, everyone thought his story had come to an end. But for Napoleon, the final word had yet to be written. In 1815, he returned, not just shaking France, but once again shaking all of Europe. Yet the final act unfolded at Waterloo, and this time, the battlefield brought not victory, but eternal exile. The man who once made kings kneel was now forced to bow to his own fate. When he died on the island of St. Helena in 1821, it wasn't just a man who passed, it was the end of an era. Yet even in death, Napoleon's legacy refused to be silenced. Even today, we still ask, was he a hero of the people, or a tyrant obsessed with power? What he left behind was more than just wars, it was a legacy of law, the concept of the nation-state, and a leadership that forever marked history. Napoleon's shadow still lingers over Europe, even more than 2 centuries later. Napoleon Bonaparte. He inspired with his courage, terrified with his ambition, and captivated with his brilliance. Born on a small island, he rose to become the most powerful man in the world, and died alone on another island. But today, he lives not only in history books, but as a legend in our collective memory. Because some names don't just shape their time, they shape the future.